is Ghana Tonight live on TV3. Good evening and welcome. Let's take a look at our top stories. Tonight, government ramps up efforts in its war against galamsey as IGP vows to go all out in the fight against illegal mining. Meanwhile, President Mahama has plans for his appointees in mining or hoping to enter the sector. Another market fire sends traders wailing and counting their losses, but President John Mahama instructs NADMO to assist the traders with some relief. So when will that assistance come? But also tonight we take you live there to the scene of the fire. The Black Stars of Ghana are back. Tonight, 5-goal lead ahead of the Chadians propels us to the top of the group table with 12 points. I know we're beaming with smiles because of the Black Stars, but thank you so much for your company here on Ghana Tonight. This is Ghana Brief.
President Mahama has issued a directive barring government officials from engaging in any form of mining, whether legal or illegal, with immediate effect. He said any official wishing to venture into mining must first resign from their government position. The president was speaking at the launch of the Tree for Life Restoration Initiative at Nkawie in the Ashanti region.
Our commitment to afforestation must be accompanied by strict environmental law enforcement. And this is why, under my administration, we will sustain the fight against illegal mining or galamsey. I've directed that no government appointee at any level should engage in any form of legal or illegal mining. If you want to be a miner, leave government and go and be a miner. You can't be in government and be a miner at the same time.
The Minister for Defense, Dr. Edward Omane-Boama, says the Ghana Armed Forces is grappling with debt crisis, with food suppliers threatening to withdraw their services owing to outstanding payments. Commenting on the budget statement on the floor of Parliament on Friday, the Defense Minister said apart from the food suppliers, total liabilities for the forces have surged to 3.7 billion cedis.
Mr. Speaker, this includes indebtedness to food suppliers, supply and repair of equipment, provision of machinery and equipment.
The Ghana Police Service is ramping up efforts to strengthen law enforcement and combat rising criminal activities across the country, with a renewed focus on illegal mining, violent crimes and attacks on businesses. Top security officials have outlined a series of stringent measures aimed at restoring law and order.
In regions like the Western North and many others, armed criminals have carried out brutal attacks on innocent people, including forest guards, without justification. This lawlessness must not be allowed to continue. We are declaring war on crimes related to illegal mining, and I expect every regional commander to take decisive action to bring perpetrators to justice.
The National Health Authority, NHIS, says the free dialysis program under the National Health Insurance Scheme will continue unabated until the Ghana Medical Care Trust Fund, also known as the Mahama Care Initiative, becomes fully operational. A release signed by the Chief Executive Officer of the NHIS, Victor Bampo, said a 7-member team has been established by the Honorable Minister for Health, Honorable Kwabna Minta Kando, to oversee the successful implementation of the initiative. The Public Utilities Workers Union has called on government to immediately review power agreements with independent power producers, IPPs. They contend the current agreement is milking the revenue mobilization of ECG to the tune of over 500 million cedis every month. General Secretary of POOL, Timothy Nyami, spoke during the POOL meeting.
There are some agreements that we have in the IPP. We have take or pay. It means that you have to pay for whether you use it or not. You have to pay for it. Those agreements should be reviewed. I'm sure it will also help Ghanaians. I mean, in the tariff regime.
Well, Ghana Brief there for you. If you're watching us, then you're live on TV3 or perhaps on our YouTube page. We're also streaming live on all our social media handles, Facebook and X.com, and on 3news.com. Be a part of the conversation. Use the hashtag Ghana Tonight. Tonight, we take you live to what is left of Adum's blue light market. The famous Adum blue light market went up in red and in flames. The inferno ravaged through stalls in the market, even threatening other structures near the market. As many as 300 shops were torched to nothing but ashes. Worse, running into hundreds of millions of cedis, all swept over by the blaze. Tonight, our Northern Bureau Chief reports the fire is still hot and blazing even at this time. Evans Inkom is live from the fire scene in Adum. He joins us with a bit more on this. Evans, good evening to you, but talk to us about what you're seeing. The fire is still on, you say?
Well, absolutely, Kevin. It's still ravaging. It looks like going to be a long haul for the firefighters. And of course, we're also being supported by the police. But I can also tell you that behind me is the Ashanti Regional Minister, and he has been here, I mean, all along. And it looks like going to spend the night here. I mean, looking at his posture and all of that. Mind you, even before the president left, I told him that we have to be on the ground and ensure that everything is actually dealt with. And exactly what we are saying here. So now, they are exploring all avenues just to ensure that they're able to bring situation under control. So they are using sand and water. And 2 excavators are currently on site. One is just at my far end, about 100 meters away from where I am. Then there's also another one, it just came. So they are exploring all avenues just to make sure that they're able to contain the situation. Then you also see the firefighters also at the point in time also sprinkling water to the area that you can still see pockets of blaze, trying to also control the situation. So currently, I mean, work is still ongoing, and it's been like this for the past over 12 hours, because fire started around 5:30 a.m. this morning, according to one of the eyewitnesses that we engaged. And the firefighters are still on the ground together with the police, so fighting the inferno.
I see. Evans, let's get into quickly what the authorities there are telling you as to why this fire is taking so long to be doused and doused conclusively.
Well, so you still can hear the pop sound, and that tells you that, I mean, there's a stock of combustible materials. I mean, I'm not surprised because there's one area that I know very much. This particular building, the famous particular building, I remember that there was a shop that was dealing in ammunition. So yeah, all right. So Juba, there was a shop that was dealing in ammunition. This afternoon, while the fire was kind of ravaging these properties, we could hear that pop sound. And I remember one of the guys got my attention to that. Look, I think that was the sound of an ammunition. Aside that, some of the shop owners were also dealing materials that we see, or products or wares that are highly combustible. It was one of the reasons why the firefighters are having some difficulty in bringing the entire situation under control. But like I told you, they are exploring all avenues, water and sand. I remember in minute to this particular interview, I saw them try to put sand in one of the fires and it got down. So they're exploring that particular option. Aside the water, which has become the convention, they're also exploring the use of sand just to accelerate, dealing with this particular situation.
I see, Evans, you know, a lot of what we are seeing in the picture is pitch black, but describe to us what is left of the blue light market.
Nothing. Only ashes. And then debris that, a pocket of fire from debris that the firefighters and, of course, the police are trying to contain. Because now the fear is that if care is not taken, there's likely to also travel to other places. And that is why they're trying to prevent. So for blue light markets, it has been reduced in ground zero.
I see, Evans, I'm going to have you hold on just a little bit. Let's take a quick review of what has taken place already since the fire began. We know firefighters responded promptly to the fire, but dousing, as you've just seen, dousing of the flames turned out difficult due to poor accessibility to some parts of the markets, but more importantly, not enough tenders to control the fire. Now, during a visit by the regional minister, who is still at the scene of the fire, Dr. Frank Amakohene, TV3 learned that 2 firefighters in the process suffered injuries while battling the monstrous blaze. Let's take a listen to the regional fire officer who spoke with Evans Inkum earlier.
From this portion to the center where there's a market, I understand that place is called Blue Light, but we had a major challenge with accessibility because the place is very congested. There's no access to it, so we're unable to enter, but we're able to stand within the streets, position ourselves there and fight the fire. So we had to extend lengths of hoses to get to the place. We also use our turntable ladder to get area access to the place to be able to put out the.
My bad. He wasn't speaking to Evans Inkum. He was speaking to the President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, explaining to him the scope of work being done there already, and then also the difficulties they are facing. Now, we'll stay on the review of how things have played out so far, because we know the traders, many of them women, continue to count their losses. But President Mahama, inspecting the scene, assured the traders NADMO will come to their aid.
And if it's our share, and your man say, and for stores are ashing na a idea, a your how ye. And Nedika Meda fire service for us. And modern boy, on way to me, a bread, a jano, and wase. Na ye anwa, na yashe, na a man is see, and so I dear back one. Fire for a catcher and they say, Ombedru no send on betty me remu, etimi akudum jano, and we are dear back one a hound ye. Now shall ye jump be brave, sanet here, and te jatumwa, send a fire for betty me a drew or etimi dum janin temno, na abeye or how amaomo. And te I'll see if ye do waste your answer, na ye share ye jano, that ye planning a year, send a bear, bibicosia, netimia so anontem. Enti yani minister ne edwadifo no ebeka ya ka kire NADMO se ombehwe na omumpe emwabi emfa mo omo kakra yani chief of staff nso bekasa enti nya Asante regional minister ene ombeka no na ya hwe emwa ebetimi de abo
Well, so that was earlier in the day when President John Dramani Mahama visited the scene of the fire. Again, both he and the fire officer, the regional fire officer, were detailing some of the difficulties that he has faced so far with handling and controlling the fire there. Again, like we have said, the fire is still blazing at the Blue Light Market in Adum. Our Northern Bureau Chief, Evans Inkum, is live at the scene of the fire. I'll quickly go to Evans. And the pictures you're seeing on your screen at the moment is only from minutes ago. You can see that there's still thick smoke there. The fire officers are still doing their best to control the fire. And as Evans has explained, they are now using all available tools and materials to be able to douse that fire completely. But Evans, we know that, getting tools and fire tenders, very important to this process. It became a challenge earlier in the day. What is the situation with that now?
Well, so, I mean, a number of fire tenders were actually deployed to at least in an attempt to contain the situation. But two things were actually broken. The total, in terms of dealing with the latest inferno. One has to do with accessibility. Then the other one also has to do with a number of hydrants that have been encroached on as far as this particular place is concerned. Because I can't remember the point in time, I mean, most of the tenders had run out of water and they were looking for a hydrant to tap water so they could be able to fight the fire. But there wasn't any because most of them have been encroached on. And the president did not make well when after he was addressed by the PRO of the fire service here, he told them that they had to encounter or be confronted with a number of issues. One has to do with the fact that the hydrants have been encroached upon, and then what have you. They did not mince words, saying that this probably contributed to the firefighters being unable to deal with the situation on time. Now, what the regional minister is doing now, like I said, is in an attempt to fight the monster fire, has to do with the deployment of these established security. And I can tell you that some way somehow it is also doing the manage because now they can basically lift the hand and then also pour the sand, onto the fire. And every time they do that, you see the fire also going down. Now, what is left is these pocket of fire that you see, and that is the building where the fire started. Now, the fire service are also trying as much as possible because now the way has to be cleared so they can access these places and then see if they can deal with the situation. I mean, we don't know how long this one is going to take, but for the looks of things, it looks like we're going to we are in for a long night. And it's something that we really need to deal with really quick. You will never tell us whether, like I said, you will only tell us that you'll be able to do this before the break of day tomorrow. But from where I stand, it doesn't look like we're going to achieve that.
Evans, I'm going to let you. Indeed, Evans, I'm going to let you go now. Be safe out there. Evans Inkum is our Northern Bureau Chief. I do want to quickly let you know that we have two conversations following up now. One with the new NADMO coordinator, again on the back of President John Dramani Mahama saying that these traders who have been affected by the fire will receive some relief from NADMO. But the other also from the Ghana National Fire Service. Let's find out the latest, because you know that earlier today, the chief fire officer of this country went to the scene of the fire. We'll find out what they have learned so far. But let's start off with NADMO. We'll speak to NADMO coordinator, Major Retired Dr. Joseph Bikanyi Kuyon. Doc, good evening to you, and thank you so much for talking to us. But earlier today, the president indicated that he has instructed NADMO, your outfit, to offer some assistance to the affected traders in Adum. Has that instruction reached you, and what will be done for these traders?
NADMO is everywhere in Ghana. Even as the disaster was happening when the fire was blazing, it was NADMO together with fire service that were fighting. So we're monitoring everything that was going on in Kumasi. And the president's comment was not out of order because he knows that we are responsible for this, and whatever directive is going to give will be carried out.
Doc, when can these traders expect this help that is being promised them to reach them?
Yes, when it happens like this, the first thing we do is to get to the disaster ground and take statistics of people that have been affected by the disaster. And then we'll also look at scale of impact, the individuals. And then we'll come to work with our partners. Mm-hmm. We are not alone. We always work hand in hand with the UN agencies in Ghana. They give us a lot of support. So our own resources together with our partners, we are able to give support and some relief to people who have been affected.
Now, is that to say there's no timeline yet as to how and when the help will reach the traders?
In fact, soonest because we were on ground when it was happening. And so when we combat the disaster, the next phase is to assess its impact on the people affected. And then the needed assistance is needed. So it's not something that's going to take too long, but it cannot be immediate as we speak because it just happened today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said NADMO was on the ground. What was the scale of impact of the fire from what you observed?
Yes, assessment is being done. Like I said, scale of impact will be given, individuals involved, properties involved. Then we can then give emphatic statements on the scale of impact.
So what would you say to the traders at this time? The fire is still blazing in the markets.
They are not alone. Government is with them. The president was there, and so they are not alone. We'll stand by them, and we'll be able to help in our own small way to keep life going. It's not going to be the end. This is a disaster. It's everybody's responsibility.
Doc, thank you so much for talking to us. Major Retired Joseph Kuyon is NADMO coordinator. He says the soonest help will reach these traders and that they are not alone. But we've also, talked about the firefighting approach and what is going on at this time and trying to understand why the fire continues to burn in the Adum Blue Lights market. Alex King Nate is PRO for the Ghana National Fire Service, is joining us via Zoom for a quick chat on this. Alex, good evening. Earlier today, your boss visited the scene of the fire. What has she learned so far?
So, good evening. I'm actually a member of the PR department. So, earlier this afternoon, our Chief Fire Officer, Madam Daniela Mausintu, made an effort to go there to Kumasi to ascertain the situation for herself. Mind you, this is someone who's been a regional commander at in the Volta region, who had even gone to fight fires in Togo. So she was vexed, and her input was very much needed to help with the situation under control there in Kumasi. As the time she got there, the fire was under control. Under control, there's a difference between under control and then the fire being finally extinguished. This is because under control means that the fire is out of danger. The spread of the fire has been curtailed. So as we speak, yes, there are pockets of fires there per what she was briefed, but then the threat of the fire spreading has been curtailed, and our officers are on grounds, and that's what we see. Until the fire is totally extinguished, we are not going anywhere.
We also hear about the difficulties that you faced with fire hydrants, with access to certain parts of the market, but also with your own tools. Talk to us about what assessment you've made in that regard.
Well, the accessibility is a major problem. Trust me, but for accessibility, I'm sure by now we would have finally extinguished the fire. From what I have been briefed from our officers on the grounds, there were buildings and other structures obstructing firefighting. So a bulldozer had to be brought in, clear up the place. So as we speak right now, the good news is that due to the efforts of the clearing of these structures, our officers have now been able to get access to the blue light area and are tackling the fire. So we are hoping that in a few hours' time, we should be able to finally extinguish the fire. Again, bearing in mind the availability of enough water to be able to fight the fire due to the challenges that our officers faced when they were fighting the fire. So we are hoping that all things being equal, with enough access to water, and then also with the clearing of these bulldozers, and then the help of our brothers, the police, the military, and other people, we should be able to see a finality to this fire soon.
We also reported about some injuries recorded among the firefighters. What's the latest on that?
So fortunately, they are responding to treatment. The good thing is that their condition was not life-threatening. So that's good news, and we can say that we are hopeful that they will pull through, and they got our support and our prayers. All firefighters in Ghana, we are behind them, because this is a fight for all firefighters, and so Godspeed to them.
I see. So the last few things I want to talk about is our correspondent reports about how at this time the firefighters are using materials like sand and the likes to extinguish the fire. Is that normal in your line of work?
Well, I don't know. That's not something that we do. So even with the Cantamant, we didn't use sand. So maybe I would have to confirm, but it's not something that we do. It's not something that we do under the circumstance. Because depending on the type of fires that we are dealing with, we use what we call foam concentrate. Looking at this market and the fact that there is no segregation in the market, you realize that you can have some, from what I gathered, they even have choppers within this area. They have people selling electrical items, people selling hairs, people selling different items over there. So there's no segregation. People even selling creams and perfumes. These are oils that you can't just use water to extinguish them. You'd have to use foam concentrate to be able to tackle fires like that. So the sand, I would have been happy to see a video evidence to prove the sand, but it's not something that we use, honestly.
Could this speak to the issue of a lack of tooling of the Ghana National Fire Service? And in this case, the original fire office, so to speak.
Well, as a service, we've never been shy to admit our shortfalls or to admit the fact that we are constrained logistically. That has never been an excuse for us not being able to fight a fire. There's never been any fire we've not been able to extinguish. Yes, with improved and modern tools, we will be able to fight fires much more quickly and then much more effective. But notwithstanding, we are still committed. We've mentioned that it's been over 13 years since the fire service received any proper retooling in the cases of fire tenders, and it's a very big challenge. It makes tenders that could have ideally got to destinations within shorter periods take a while to get there because they might not be available. Just like
very well, Alex. I'm afraid we'll have to leave our conversation here. It seems like it's going to be a really long night for your team on the ground. But thank you so much for talking to us. Alex King Nate is a member of the PR team with the Ghana National Fire Service. Now let's move on to other matters. Police to go all out on war against galamsey, but it's government appointees who will no longer take part in mining, even if legal. Tonight, we're learning more about government's plans to sustain the fight against galamsey. Let's begin our coverage of this story with the Ghana Police Service. IGP Christian Teteyohuno says police will go all out to combat crime across the country. Top of that list, you guessed right, illegal mining or galamsey. This is part of a concerted effort to tighten security and reduce crime across the country.
In regions like the Western North and many others, armed criminals have carried out brutal attacks on innocent people, including forest guards, without justification. This lawlessness must not be allowed to continue. We are declaring war on crimes related to illegal mining, and I expect every regional commander to take decisive action to bring perpetrators to justice.
Tonight, TV3 has also learned government plans to arrest the situation above the food chain. Now, let me explain that. According to the Interior Minister, Muntaka Mubarak, government will not only target the miners, but also their employers, and this is how they plan to operate.
I've seen written to the IGP that henceforth, any equipment that we find either in our forest or galamsey site, the chassis number of that vehicle or that equipment be forwarded immediately to us, and then we'll get the owner. The foreigners that we find in those forests, since I became the Minister of Interior, we have returned well over 107 citizens of other countries that we have found in fraud and in galamsey activities. Any foreigner that we find in our forest, immediately call your colleague from the immigration for them to pick them, because we have decided that any foreigner that we find in our forest or involved in any fraud, our first option is to repatriate them back into their country.
Now, only days ago, government launched its Operation Blue Water Initiative, a program meant to augment patrolling and protecting the country's water bodies in collaboration with our security forces. But pay attention. Tonight, the most audacious effort is the President's directive. Now, this directive bans government appointees from engaging in mining, be it legal or illegal. Take a listen.
Our commitment to afforestation must be accompanied by strict environmental law enforcement. And this is why, under my administration, we will sustain the fight against illegal mining or galamsey. I've directed that no government appointee at any level should engage in any form of legal or illegal mining. If you want to be a miner, leave government and go and be a miner. You can't be in government and be a miner at the same time. And I wish to reiterate that any government appointee found violating this directive will face swift and severe sanctions, including possible removal from office.
Well, in case you missed that, I'm going to go over it again. The President says, I have directed that no government appointee at any level should engage in any form of legal or illegal mining. And if you want to be a miner, leave the government and go and be a miner. Words of President John Dramani Mahama. Let's take the conversation to Zoom now. I'll have a quick conversation with Professor Enoch Opoku-Entry, who is a governance and leadership expert. Prof, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight. How does this directive from the President come to you?
I love the President, and this is a very bold one because he has the confidence to be humble but very firm in this. We know about the health, the safety, risk assessment, reclamation of the soil, stolen revenue from galamsey, and what the damage it has done to our soil. Research has shown that, soil experts, that it's going to take over 100 years before we can reclaim the same soil back. Talk about the sicknesses and strange diseases that is happening in these areas. And we have a former president who put his presidency on the line for this, and for 8 years he couldn't deal with it. So the current president can be a little angel on our shoulder if we strengthen his hand in solving this problem. And I saw the firmness in his speech when he said that any government appointee, a member of government who engages in this will face the consequence. And nobody dares the president on this because everybody has seen the seriousness in it. I have seen that we have reclaimed 7 out of the 9 forest reserves that was taken over by galamseyers. I've seen the minister talking about 101 country nationals, foreigners who have been deported because of galamsey. If we don't take this concrete action, if every Ghanaian don't come on board for us to fix the problem once and for all, then we are going to be in danger because when we pollute our last water resources, then we'll have to import water into this country. So I am highly impressed with what the president has done. And I take cue from the book of the Golden Precept that says that the way to find freedom is within thyself. So we are looking within ourselves to fix this menace that is really killing all Ghanaians.
I see, Prof, considering that these licenses are not given to individuals, they are given to companies. Some of these companies are not directly run by appointees, so to speak, with no particular company in mind. How does this directive be made? How can this directive be made effective in the face of beneficial ownership and the fact that, you know, people are not directly involved in their companies?
I think the directive was very simple, that if you want to be a miner, go be a miner. If you want to be a government appointee and work for the government and be a civil servant, which is an honor to serve your country, do that. But we know some people will try to dare the president to do dual roles. They will try to be miners with their boys, doing it for them. And the idea of confiscating any vehicle, you know, getting to be involved in this galamsey, that means the employer and then the employees will be dealt with. That is a good way of creating that sense of emergency, because it's an emergency situation. And we need to find every angle of solution to this. So I think that once you see that you cannot dare the president on this, and ministers and the police service, I saw the police officer we just showed, talking about the steps they are all taking to fix this. If everybody is on board, we will strengthen the president's hands, and then this galamsey will be a thing of the past.
I see. And then when you listen to the president, he says that, you know, appointees at all levels. So we are looking at local government too, aren't we?
Yes. So if you go to any local area, let's face the fact. The chiefs know where the galamseyers are. The assembly members know. The MCEs know. Some of those leaders in the community leaders know this. So anybody involved, remember MCEs and DCs are direct reps of the president in these situations. Unfortunately, we've not appointed the MCs and DCs yet, but we have community leaders there. The regional executives are working, coordinating councils are working, and anybody caught to have involved him or herself in this will be dealt with seriously. That's what the president is saying.
But
I take him back.
Prof, how do we convince the Ghanaian people that this is not just to score points when we say that appointments have been made, and it's post the appointment the president is making the point that, or giving the directive that if you want to mine, leave my office? Why wasn't that? I mean, was it even a criterion in choosing the people he's appointing?
Yes, Cicero makes it right. He says that the skill to do comes from the doing. So there's simply no substitute for doing, and we learn by doing. He wants to do it. And actions speak louder than words. So he's taking concrete actions. I began by saying that the former president even put his presidency on it, and for 8 years, nothing happened. So people are watching with keen eyes to see what this president can do. And I can affirm that if we all, you know, help him and strengthen his hand, we all play our part, he can be a little angel on our shoulders.
I see. Prof, why don't you hold the rest of your thoughts for me? I want us to go over the Operation Blue Water initiative, because it fits into the conversation we are having that was launched earlier this week. Let's take a look at the Operation Blue Water situation. Some 2,000 youths will be trained to protect rivers and combat water pollution caused by illegal mining. The IGP, as we have already told you, has declared a war on illegal mining. Now, the Operation Blue Water Initiative launched in the Western region, will see some military personnel train these 2,000 youths. The military personnel have been very clear that, listen, we are training you, but you are not military people. Just do your jobs and do them right. Let's take a look at the next slide. Now, the Interior Minister Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak announced government decision to track owners of galamsey equipment using chassis numbers. President John Dramani Mahama directed his appointees not to engage in any form of mining, whether legal or illegal. Essentially, this is a rundown of things that we know. We also know that there were attempts this week, and Prof, I hope you're following me, that there were attempts this week to lay amendments of the law that empowers us to, mine in our forest reserves, also in Parliament. The amendment is such that, for those who are new to the topic, the amendment is such that it will prevent us, really. Well, as you see on your screen, it will remove the presidential power in granting licenses for mining in forest reserves, and that LI 2462 was also laid in Parliament. We also know that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Lama Kofi-Boa, announced the revocation of mining licenses issued after December 7th. Well, so those are the things that have happened in the last few days here in this country. Prof, when you put all of these together, do you have hope that we'll get to a point where galamsey is a thing of the past in this country? And how long do you think it will take us to get there?
Once again, I think that the president has been very bold in this initiative. I've seen social media, and we have different generations on social media where people have pictures of the youth, comparing them with military-clad soldiers, saying that if military could not solve the problem, how would these youth solve that problem? I've seen that. And if you look at Operation Blue Water Initiative, we need our waters to be blue, not the Milo color that we are seeing now. But 2,000 youth that are going to be trained, I think that we can train more. Maybe this is the initial stage. We can train more youth. The reason why this is important is that if you go to Kenya, or any other country in Africa, even Tanzania, you will see that the rangers that have been trained to watch the animals, nobody can dare go there. So the reason why this is happening is that crime is local. The same way violence is also local. Once you train the local people who knows the territories of these areas, they will make sure that nobody dares come in there, because they've been trained, they've been armed to protect their own resources. And what the president is doing is that he's making it their own. Anytime you have an organization or any position and you make somebody feel that sense of ownership, they protect that resource very well, because they come from there and they know how to protect those resources. So I think that these youth for Operation Blue Water Initiative, we should help them with good training, simulation training and all that. If you have encroachers, what do? This kind of training will help them to be equipped to save their own water bodies, which is very important. Now, talking about the amendment, the law amendment, if you go to US and Europe, I have the US Constitution with me here, which talks about the Bill of Rights and amendments. The reason why the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment and the 14th Amendment is so important to them is that the amendment fixes current problems. The law has been old, but amendments are talking about current situation that the law can apply and fix it. So I think that these amendments is good, so that they can also get the legal backing to do effective work in stopping galamsey.
I see. We also hear from the Interior Minister about how over 170 foreigners have been repatriated. Foreigners who were involved in illegal mining have been repatriated. That foreign element is one thing that, we chastise the previous government for a lot in their handling of foreigners who were involved in illegal mining. What differently should this administration do?
We all remember, people don't forget, that Ashawan, we all remember her, was allegedly deported, and she came back through Togo and came back to Ghana, staying quietly and doing the same galamsey. Don't you remember? We do. So Ghanaians will be watching. And I think that if we fix, President Mahama fix corruption, as he's working on now, and then he fixes galamsey, and those who have been alleged to have been corrupted in the past government are put to jail or punished severely, he would do a good job, and Ghanaians remember him for the rest of our history.
Prof, I appreciate you talking to us. Thank you so much, Professor Enoch.
Always been. Have a great night.
Absolutely, you too. Professor Enoch Opoku-Antwi is a democracy and governance analyst. We've been talking about the president's latest directive to his appointees. If you want to mine, leave your position and then go and mine. He says that goes for both legal and illegal mining, and to all his appointees at all levels. We've been looking at the entire weekend, all the efforts we have had in its entirety, and how it could impact the fight against illegal mining. And I do appreciate all the insight from Prof. Earlier also was the very latest from that fire at Adum Blue Light Market, where our correspondent reports, and you saw for yourselves, that the fire is still blazing there. The fire service is doing all it can to extinguish and douse that fire completely, so that rebuilding can commence, so to speak, for the traders to get their lives back on track. We've also heard from NADMO. NADMO's been saying that soonest, that's what he says, they will hear from NADMO as far as relief is concerned. It's time for me to take a break. But when we come back, how about that win, that comeback from the Black Stars of Ghana? Don't go away. Welcome back. Tonight, the Black Stars sits shining bright at the top of Group I with 12 points after the Black Stars of Ghana whooped their Chadian counterparts 5-0 here in Accra. Antoine Semenyo was first to kick the ball behind the net for the Chadians in the second minute of the game, opening a floodgate for 4 goals to follow, like from the likes of Inaki Williams and the captain of the side, Jordan Ayew. Oreku is here with me in the studio. He'll take us over some of the very special moments, the finest moments of the game. Oreku, did you watch it throughout?
Yeah, I did.
What a question, right? What else would you be doing apart from that? But what were the finest moments of the game?
Well, I think the results for me. I think every goal was very important, and at the end of the day, it was a very crucial victory for the team because what it does is that it's a stamp of authority, especially because for a long time now, Ghana has lost that fear factor on the continent. And I know people will say, yes, it's just Chad who are ranked 177th in the world, but nobody has beaten Chad this much, even in the World Cup qualifiers. The last time that they lost by 5 goals, you'd have to go back to 10 years ago that they lost by 5 goals to 0 in a competitive game. And so this is a reminder of the potential that this Ghana team has. And although the team didn't qualify for the AFCON, I think this was the reset, more or less like a refreshing result for Ghanaians to somehow believe that they can potentially qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Because what it does is that it sends Ghana back to the top of Group I halfway through the World Cup qualifiers.
I mean, what could have done the magic tonight?
Well, I would have to... I know coaches do a lot of work in training, tactics, player quality and all of that. But I genuinely believe that the Accra Sports Stadium played a huge factor tonight. The atmosphere that we saw there, I think, is synonymous to none. And right from the onset, the energy, you could see how vibrant it was. The stadium was literally shaking. And for an inexperienced team like Chad, I think it's nothing like they've experienced before. So it played a role in sort of casting fear into their opponents. And that sort of contributed to Ghana's fast start. And it just, we kept on going from strength to strength with that regard. So, yeah, the players were really good. But I think the stadium, the fans really did the magic tonight.
I see. So we are 12 points on top of the table.
Yeah.
But are we 12 points strong?
I think the big test is on Monday, because if Ghana beats Madagascar on Monday, the Black Stars go 5 points clear. Imagine. Just imagine how much of a cushion that would be with 4 games to go. And so it's still, destiny within the hands of the Black Stars. It's a really huge game on Monday, and Otuado, he's been speaking after the match. He didn't even want to get too involved in the celebrations in today's game because he says that it's concentration on the game on Monday away to Madagascar. I think that is the real big test. If they are able to go past that, then Ghanaians can start dreaming of a World Cup in the US, Canada, and Mexico.
I like the sound of that. But you've also been speaking to some of the fans after the game. What have they been telling you? I know the excitement is
I think, genuinely, a lot of fans are happy because, there's a small section of people who want to downplay the win. But the truth is, this is a Black Stars team that hasn't won a game or hadn't won a game in 9 months before today. This is a Black Stars team that lost against Niger at the Accra Sports Stadium, couldn't beat Sudan, couldn't beat Angola. And so the team is not even in the position to take any form of result for granted. So I think the larger populace are really excited about the result. Fans always want to see goals, and to see 5 of them, I think, was a major gift for them. So a lot of them are really happy. The hope is that they will be able to continue in this vein on Monday and even beyond for the rest of the year.
I see. And Monday's game is against?
It's against Madagascar, who are second in the group. So it's almost like a playoff to get that automatic slot. I know it's early in the competition, but for a set game, whoever wins this, it could be a potential booster for them when it comes to their qualification hopes of the World Cup.
How do we measure up to Madagascar?
Well, I think for Madagascar, their only defeat in the World Cup qualifiers coincidentally came to Ghana. And that was the match that Inaki Williams scored with virtually the last kick of the game with that header in the 92nd minute. And it was a crucial win for Ghana because it sort of set the tone up for the qualifiers. However, since then, Madagascar haven't lost in the World Cup qualifiers, and they've managed to somehow catapult themselves into contention to qualification. And so I think the real difficulty would be that test itself. And I think it will be a really, really interesting game. Madagascar themselves, they went away to Central African Republic on Wednesday, beat them by 4-1. And so they're a side that are really going strong at the moment, and they would be meeting a confident Black Stars team as well. It just makes room for a really good game.
I like the sound of that. Oreku, thank you so much for talking to us. Oreku Ampofo, he's a fantastic sports guy. And I always love talking to you. Thank you so much. It's time for me to go. But before I go, some of you have been reacting to comments online. Let's share some of those comments with you quickly, and then we'll go. Presida says, this is the most unselfish Ghana Black Stars game I've ever seen. Everyone is playing for everyone. What a game, Ghana. Semenyo has more international goals than Kylian Mbappe in 2025. Olele obviously laughs. A tour number 4, and that means 4 more 4. Oh, really? This win is great for Ghana, who will need to keep going if they want to get to next year's Mondial. Get those subs on to grab valuable minutes. That's from Prosper Kuzo. Thank you so much for your comments. And our Oreku Ampofo, when was the last time Ghana scored 5 goals in the game? Oreku, you should come back and answer that question. But that's it from us. It's time for us to go. Remember, 7 a.m. Alfred Okansi and his panelists will be here to discuss the week's biggest stories. But quickly, John Dramani Mahama, our president, has also been commenting. He said he had a great dinner. That I know for sure. I had a good appetite for dinner after the Black Stars 5-0 victory. Congrats, guys. Let this victory not make us complacent. This should be the beginning of bringing back the love. Next focus, Madagascar. Go Black Stars. That's from President John Dramani Mahama. I've got to go now. 7 a.m. Key points here with Alfred Okanse and his panelists. Sunday, 2 p.m. I'll come your way with hot tissues. In the meantime, enjoy the weekend. However it comes for you. Bye-bye.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste.